Alrighty, everybody, this is the web news, and working title, although I think we're probably going to stick with it because I just like it, is WordPress relevant or still relevant in 2025? And this comes to us from another Reddit thread. The link will be in the show notes on htmlallthethings.com. So you can, of course, go there and vote it up and comment and do all your things that you do on Reddit. This is from a user called Hopeful Friendship 26, and they write, is WordPress still relevant in today's web development world? Hey, everyone. I've been working with WordPress for about 10 years now, mostly in a law firm environment, so we don't exactly stay on the bleeding edge when it comes to web design or modern development practices. Lately, I've been wondering if WordPress is still considered relevant in today's web development world, or even if traditional web development itself still holds the same weight it used to. It seems like everything is shifting more toward web applications rather than classic websites. If you were in my position, comfortable with PHP, ACF, custom themes, etc., would you recommend learning next? What would you recommend learning next to stay current? Should I focus on using WordPress in a headless setup, or should I start diving into something completely different like React, Next.js, or other frameworks? Basically, I want to update my skills without completely throwing away what I already know. What would you do in my situation? Thanks in advance, and I appreciate any honest advice or insight. Now, this thing was under like the hot tab. It has a ton of comments and things like that. And I mean, my comments and really the focus of this web news, I'm sure Mike will maybe address more things, but is the main part, at least what I think is the main part of the thread, which is WordPress still relevant in 2025? I think that's really the big question. And if so, why? And that's the question I want to tackle, because I don't know what this person should learn next or whatever, but WordPress is still completely relevant. And therefore, this person learning more skills in WordPress is still valid. Learning to make plugins or learning to interact or make websites is absolutely still valid. So yes, the answer to the question, yes, WordPress is still valid, still relevant, still used, still valuable, whole pack in 2025. And I mean, the reason is because even though classic websites are called classic because they're mundane, like websites are like a mundane thing that people don't think of. It's like everyone has a website. You're right. But someone has to make those websites, right? And so when I get phone calls, like I deal with the small and medium business guys, Mike mostly does the web app stuff. They rarely, if ever, ask me for a web app. I think we've gotten one request for a web app, and it was for a startup that was looking for investors that isn't ready to actually like do anything unless an investor actually gets in the mix and like, supports. So like, a bit of a long shot in any case. Any successful thing that I've done in probably the last 2-3 years has been not web apps, but websites. And a lot of them have been Webflow, but a lot of them have been WordPress as well. And so it's absolutely still relevant. And in fact, Mike and I are even looking into potentially making some WordPress plugins to make our lives easier, and in turn make our clients' lives easier, but also to potentially make some money as well. We have to look at the web development sphere as sort of multi-tiered, in that web apps are relatively new, right? Especially in comparison to like a traditional website. Web apps are new. They're shiny. There's lots of innovation in them still, and the needs are constantly evolving. Just in the episode that Mike and I just recorded, which you won't hear for a bit, but in the episode that Mike and I just recorded, we were discussing how, the needs of AI in the development sphere are basically adding a need in the market for new tools and new ways to, use LLMs and web apps specifically and things like that. Meanwhile, I answer the phone, prospective client, they're asking me for, hey, they'll ask me straight up, first words out of the mouth. Do you know Webflow? Can you make me a Webflow website? That happens frequently. Same thing with WordPress. And it's because here, at the end of the day, these people are trying to make money. So we have to take a look at, there's people that are, either renovating their existing websites. There's people that are starting new businesses and they need a website. And yes, they could spend the time and make a website themselves, but they know that I'm going to go in there and immediately know technical SEO stuff that I should do off the hop. I'm going to know how to manage the data of a CMS. One of the things that I do actually pride myself on is having a really easy to use CMS. I try to make it very easy for my clients to update their website via CMS and make minimal mistakes. I try to have the UX of the editing process. As long as I have influence over it, I try to make the fields super easy. They're not overwhelmed. Fields are hidden if I can do that. Fields are hidden as long as they don't need them. They're not accidentally adding way too many characters, things like that. I try to do that as much as possible. It's not always possible, but I think the thing is like there's still like a skill to making websites, even though it is sort of mundane. Like websites have been solved largely, right? SEO is sort of like that part that's never fully solved because Google is constantly changing the parameters. But that's my take. Is WordPress is absolutely relevant, valuable, and a skill that is going to go into 2025 and go in strong into 2026 and far into the future, in my opinion, because not everybody needs a web app, and even the web apps need websites usually. So it's like it's like, how mundane is it? I think you've mentioned this, Mike, as a final thing before I let Mike talk. It's like how mundane is it to sell the pickaxes to the people that are mining the gold in the gold rush, but the money isn't mundane.
Yeah, it's usually the best businesses. That's what people made way more money selling the pickaxes. That's the point of that whole conversation. But like, okay, so WordPress is 100% relevant in 2025. So I think that's an answer to the question. We both for sure agree. There's a little bit of nuance in what you should learn next, I think, and I can cover that a little bit. But what I want to kind of capitulate on, or like just have a think on and have a conversation on, is WordPress like a little bit more immune from the AI takeover than other more custom applications. And the reason that I think that is a lot of what WordPress is going through UI and clicking on things and adding things and knowing how to set up and maintain the WordPress site and doing a lot of physical, like, going in and changing the UIs and stuff like that. Like there's less code, more GUI, right? Like that's how WordPress is. And it's meant for people that aren't super tech savvy to do it. But if you want to create a really good WordPress site, you have to be pretty tech savvy, pretty knowledgeable, pretty deep in the WordPress space. I almost think that WordPress is safer than like a custom Next.js website, because a custom Next.js website is kind of what AI is being trained to create right now more than anything else. Like that's where, like, if you look at all the AI firms, they're like, oh, we're becoming engineers. Replace your engineers, replace your engineers. They're not specifically saying like replace your WordPress developers. They're more targeted toward replacing those custom features like the to-do list, the web apps, in my opinion. And I could be wrong on this, but I honestly think that it's almost, if you get deep into WordPress and you become really good at making very efficient WordPress sites with really good CMSs for people to use, you might be safe for a little while. And again, this is a thought that kind of popped into my head as you were talking, Matt. So I haven't like really thought deeply on this or done any research. Like I'm sure that WordPress could generate custom themes, or sorry, not WordPress, but ChatGPT or some other service could generate custom themes and stuff like that for WordPress. I'm sure it knows PHP pretty well, but putting it together, knowing where to put it, because there's no, like, I guess, yeah, I guess you open up your PHP files in like Cursor and then it knows what to do. Like it knows the file structure. It could probably do a lot of custom stuff. That's something that I kind of want to try. Honestly, I want to try to open up a custom WordPress project in my Cursor app, my Cursor IDE, and just have it like do stuff and see if it's any good. And if it's great, then maybe what I'm saying is irrelevant. Like maybe it doesn't matter. Like it's code is code. But if it's not as good and it's like lacking certain things, or if there is just a lot of UI work that you need to do and custom clicking and setting up like the infrastructure that WordPress maybe, or that ChatGPT or whatever AI model doesn't have the good context of, or it's just not possible because there's no like MCP servers for it or something, then yeah, it could be a way for you to kind of differentiate yourself a little bit. Because I 100% agree that like sites will still need to be created. You might have to think a little bit more about like how you present your data for today's, AI web of like, GEO or whatever it's called, generative SEO. But other than that, it's still going to be a website. People are still going to have to get to it. And I always recommend any marketing website that needs to be created to be in one of these platforms that support marketing websites very well, like WordPress or Webflow, right? Or there's other ones, but like those are the main two that I know of, because I've worked on custom marketing websites before, or even custom e-commerce websites. Let's talk about that too. That's another big market, like Shopify, obviously, or WooCommerce. And it's almost always a wash in terms of like, yes, you can do a little bit more custom stuff with a custom website, like a React-based website with a headless CMS. You can do more custom stuff, sure, but the friction that introduces and the amount of time, the turnaround time to implement something goes way up, and therefore that custom stuff almost does not make sense for the majority of projects. Now, there are a minority, like edge casey things where like you have to play with a lot of data and it's really interactive e-commerce website, or you're trying to compete with like a very established brand that has a very cool marketing or cool presence in the space and you're trying to outdo them, right? Like you're trying to do some really custom website. Those are cases where you might need to go with a more custom approach, but though I would say that those are in the like top, like 5% is probably being generous of sites that require it. So most websites, if they're focused on marketing, if there's a marketing team behind them, if there's a sales team behind them that needs to control them, you should always use the more established product that's been designed for this, that makes it so that your engineers don't have to freaking bash their head against the wall doing the requests of the marketing team. Just trust me on that. It's almost always better to allow them to use the tool that they're more used to.
I mean, that's a big thing too. When I get the phone call, it's usually like the marketing team for writing content or for managing things. Like they're already familiar with a WordPress or Webflow. And also, Micah, you were saying like open up an empty WordPress project. I mean, I think this speaks to the complexity, or maybe not complexity, the versatility of WordPress. In that, what do you mean by that? And I think that like a lot of tools don't have that same sort of question attached to them. Because here's the thing. I mean, what is a custom project? Is it using a WordPress theme? Is it using WordPress, from a headless perspective? Okay, what is the theme? Is the theme plugging into a page builder like Elementor? Like, are you making a theme for Elementor? Are you making a theme for Beaver Page Builder? Are you making a theme for just WordPress proper and then like Gutenberg and that type of thing? Is that what you're doing? Is it compatible with you know common plugins such as ACF, right? That was mentioned in the Reddit thread. Like, is that what you're doing? What do really like? What is it that you're doing? Because some people will use WordPress and they won't use themes at all. They'll have a fully custom. There's people in the comments section of this Reddit thread that will say, "Oh, we basically make a whole custom website, sort of the quote unquote, modern way with React and a bunch of other tools, and then we use WordPress in a headless capacity, and it's really valuable to us, and obviously that, like, I mean, that's likely due to the fact that they don't have to build it, right? That saves a lot of time, but also because, I mean, WordPress has changed over the years, but if you saw it 15 years ago and then you saw it today and you didn't see, the word WordPress anywhere, you could kind of tell, like, even if it was a partial screenshot of what was on the person's screen, you're in that admin panel, like people are going to recognize it as WordPress, right? There's user management in there, a whole bunch of stuff. And so, I mean, there's a lot, like WordPress is very, very capable. And you mentioned the e-commerce angle. I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, like I was consulting while you were working on a e-commerce project a number of years ago now. And I had so many conversations with you where I was just like, this is so superfluous. Like some of the stuff that you're working on, and you agreed, right? They were just adding layers and layers and layers of complexity and adding developers because the complexity was growing and they weren't selling product. And I said, we gotta, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not a guy who's, running a multi-million-dollar startup. I don't have investors. I don't have any of that. However, in my opinion, if you don't sell that product, you're in trouble. And sadly, they ended up in trouble because I kept saying it. And like, I'm sure many other people smarter than me were saying it as well, where they were saying, hey, we're not selling product. Like, we're worried about the intricacies of our cart system. Who cares? Sell this product. And if it's something like, let's say a cross sell or an upsell, and your software doesn't support that, there's going to be a pre-made software that supports that. Like, the number one thing you need is those sales. And I mean, we, like you and I, Mike, like, we have revolutionized people's businesses, small businesses, but we've revolutionized people's businesses just by making a really good Google My Business card, fixing the GPS location when someone goes to the Google My Business card or goes to the Apple Maps navigation system. They navigate to it and it navigates them right to the sign, and then the sign directs them everywhere else, right? It's like super easy. The UX is good. We've completely revolutionized that stuff for some clients. And we've gotten phone calls where it's like, we're getting phone calls. We're getting so many phone calls that we may, shut down other parts of the business and just work on this because we're getting so many phone calls. And is this person a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire? No. But is this person making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year now? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. And the funny thing is I'm one of the customers for some of these people where I saw the UX and I was like, man, why is it directing me to the back door of this plaza? Like, what's going on here? Because I didn't know where it was the first time. And then it's like, you know what? This needs to be changed. And when they hired me, it's like, very first thing, it's like that UX, right? So the point of the matter is, like, to go back to WordPress, the point of the matter is like, the UX makes a lot of difference. I mean, if you have a marketing team that knows WordPress and they're all about content, all their skills are in learning Google, because Google's an ongoing thing, learning that SEO, now learning GEO, as you mentioned, generative engine optimization, which is effectively AI SEO, right? You're learning that stuff. You want them learning that stuff. You do not want them learning the stupid CMS. Sorry, you don't want them learning a new CMS. You don't.
Yep.
And
100%.
And you want to sell product on an e-commerce site. You do not want to have a revolutionary cart system.
Correct. And I will just to double down on that. I really want people to understand this one, is that you don't want to give them excuses as well. This is very corporate, but what's going to happen if you revolutionize the cart system and add a new cart in, if their revenue goes down, they're blaming you. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas if you put the Stripe cart system that's already been tested by millions of people and is probably the most efficient cart system out there, or the Shopify cart system, whatever.
Yep.
The thing that's been tested by everyone, they can't blame you. What are they going to blame Stripe? Stripe's selling, like, they're not going to blame them. They can't blame them. It's on them.
Yeah.
It's on the marketing team. It's on the sales team for not selling. Okay. So you want to put yourself in a position that you're using the systems that are out there that have been battle tested by everyone, so that whatever you put out there is the best case scenario, or the best chance that the product that you're trying to sell has to be sold without the technology being involved as the blocker. Right? Like if you're making the cart system from scratch and you all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have this really cool idea where people can drag this thing from left to right and it can increase the. No one knows that. If you're putting friction points where there shouldn't be friction points, and even if it is amazing, let's say it is amazing, okay? How are you going to know that? How are you going to compare it?
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to? So that kind of stuff is dangerous. Like, I'm going to say that right away. That's dangerous, and that's potential job loss dangerous.
It's a waste of time.
If the marketing and sales teams see that their sales are going down and they have a way to put it on the tech, they will put it on the tech. I promise you, 100% of the time, they will put it on the tech. And therefore, obviously the CEO or the head, the CTO is going to be pressured to change something. And that change might be, dissolving the tech team, going a different route. I've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
So put yourself in a position where you're using the battle tested stuff because it's usually good. And you're doing the things that make it so that your product is selling the best way it possibly can. Whatever your client's product, your product, doesn't matter. But you want to piggyback on the stuff that's been tested.
And the thing is you're talking about battle tested, battle hardened, whatever. What is more battle hardened in the world of web development, specifically websites, than WordPress?
Absolutely.
It's honestly a household name. It is a household name in terms of any of the tools we use. You talk to your random, over the holidays or something. You talk to your uncle that's older, maybe doesn't really, not really into tech. I I would say there's a much higher chance of him knowing at least the word WordPress or the name WordPress than React or Svelte or SvelteKit, Next.js. List goes on and on, Astro, whatever. What's the chances, right? But WordPress, I mean, many people have dabbled with websites, even just for
Yep.
fun. So there's full hosting businesses built on WordPress, and I think that's
Mhm.
an attestment. But I think that's it, honestly. Like at least for my comments.
Mhm.
So yeah, the answer the question definitively, is WordPress still relevant in 2025? Yes, and in 2026, unless something radical happens, the answer to that question for me is going to be yes as well.
100%. Yep. Same here. Yes.
All right, well, that's the web news. That's our short form show. If you like this is on video. We have audio shows as well, and we're starting to dabble a little bit into video episodes, which are like in production. It takes a couple weeks to get through the production pipeline. So we might have some of those as well. But if you want to listen to some longer form episodes, there's even some discounts in there and other goodies. If you're interested in, using some other tools and things, go check out our full length episodes. And that's it. I'm gonna say goodbye now. Goodbye.
Goodbye.